Panorama News live here on Nile TV International. I'm Tagharit Hussein, and here are the main stories that make headlines this Monday afternoon. The French police carry out 150 raids targeting suspected terrorists. And a minute of silence observed in France and across Europe for Paris victims. And France strikes Daesh positions in Syria. Prime Minister Emmanuel Valls said on Monday that French police have carried out more than 150 raids on suspected terrorists since the attacks on Paris. The police sources said the raids led to 5 arrests and the seizure of an arsenal of weapons, including a rocket launcher, a Kalashnikov assault rifle, bulletproof vests, handguns, and combat gear. The police have additional powers under a state of emergency declared after the coordinated attacks in Paris on Friday. Details.
French warplanes pounded Daesh positions in Syria as police in Europe widened their investigations into coordinated attacks in Paris that killed more than 130 people. Daesh terrorist group has claimed responsibility for Friday's suicide bombings and shootings, which have reignited a row over Europe's refugee crisis and drawn calls to block a huge influx of refugees. French police have launched an international hunt for a Belgian-born man they believe helped organize the assaults with 2 of his brothers. A judicial source said that 1 of the brothers died in the attacks, while the second is under arrest in Belgium. Police said that a further 2 French suicide attackers have been identified, while the identity of 4 other assailants, who were all killed, was still under review. France has been bombing Daesh positions in Iraq and Syria for months as part of a U.S.-led operation. Following Friday's attacks, Paris vowed to destroy the group. Stunned by the carnage, thousands of people thronged to makeshift memorials at 4 of the sites where the attacks took place, laying flowers and lighting candles to remember the dead. The death toll rose to 132, with 3 more people dying on Sunday from their wounds. Some 103 have been identified, including many young people and many foreigners, out relaxing on a Friday night in one of the world's most visited cities. Police said that they had found a Syrian passport near one of the other dead gunmen. Greece said that the passport holder had crossed from Turkey to the Greek islands last month and then registered for asylum in Serbia before heading north, following a route taken by hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers this year.
Meanwhile, France and other countries in Europe had observed a minute's silence at noon Monday in memory of the victims of the worst ever terror attacks on French soil. In Paris, the President François Hollande and his cabinet, all dressed in black, bowed their heads at the Sorbonne University, surrounded by scores of students. And at the Place de la République, near the site of many of Friday's attacks, hundreds more stood still to remember the victims who were killed in the bloodbath. Large crowds also gathered in silence by the Bataclan music venue, where 89 people were killed, and outside the nearby restaurant where 15 others were killed. Egypt's General Consul in Paris confirmed that an Egyptian man was among the victims of the attack on the Bataclan Theater in Paris last Friday. The consulate officials said that the man was living in France. They noted that the body of the victim will be returned to Egypt. Another Egyptian was injured in the attack on the stadium and is now receiving treatment in hospital in Paris. Meanwhile, the French embassy in Cairo expressed appreciation to the gesture made by decorating Giza pyramids Sunday with lights of the French flag in solidarity with France after the attack. The pyramids were decorated by lights with colors of the French, Lebanese, and Russian flags, all nations that suffered terrorist attacks recently. And for an in-depth look into Friday's terrorist attacks in Paris, we're joined over the phone by Dr. Ibrahim Al-Ghazawi, a professor of international law. Dr. Ghazawi, the striking Daesh positions in Syria, is that enough to fight international terrorism? What are other steps that are needed in that context?
No, definitely not. Fighting or confronting Daesh in Syria or in Iraq or in Libya or all of them together is not enough to counter terrorism waves worldwide. This bloody incident in Paris has given a signal, a very black signal and bloody signal, that the tactics used by the Western world to cooperate in terms of fighting terrorism is not enough. And it's a message to all of us, actually, to all the international community, that although we in different occasions, the Egyptian president warned against terrorism, telling that terrorism has no nationality and has no religion or no geography or border, it's still probably this incident in Paris will signal a sort of serious or diametrical change in the tactics of fighting terrorism from the Western world. Hopefully so. The problem of terrorism is not only in the Middle East or in Syria or Iraq. It's worldwide, and we don't need any more proofs to understand this fact. And what that means simply that there is no any other way than more and more tight cooperation between different countries around the globe to encompass this phenomenon. It's not easy. There must be cooperation on all different levels of responsibility. I'm talking about security, I'm talking about intelligence, I'm talking about military, and even societal exchange of communication and information. Well, we need that. We urgently need this, and we don't have to wait until we are shocked by another bloody incident in other capital, whether in the Western world or else. It's all blood. It's all human casualties, and we're all human beings, and it's really very sad to see casualties from our victims, whether in the Middle East or in Europe or anywhere else.
Right. Dr. Ghazawi, how about the terrorist attacks on Friday? How far is it going to change the policy of the European countries? How far is it going to change scenarios?
Well, definitely it will. It already started. When you hear that today or within 24 hours, more than 150 raids have been conducted by the French authorities or police or intelligence and different security apparatus. And also, by the way, it's being conducted in all different European countries, in Belgium, in Sweden, and other countries. And some suspects were arrested. Yes, this incident signals a massive change in the process of detection and fighting the threats of terrorism. I'm afraid that the negative repercussions of this incident will mean more restrictions on the movement between different countries, and will mean also that more pointing at some religious groups more than others. We have to understand that terrorism does no religion. It's all terrorism activities. Whether it's Daesh or else, we still talk about the behavior itself. It's not religious. It's human, and it has to be fought in a way that reflects cooperation and joint responsibility. It's not only the responsibility of the country where the attack happens. It's the responsibility of the whole world community.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ibrahim Al-Ghazawi, Professor of International Law, for your valuable input. Still with France repercussions, heavy air